This is Chapter 7, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Swaminathan here. Chapter 7 is about management and leadership. So let's first talk about management. Even before entering into that specifics of management, let me tell you, this is perhaps the most important chapter or among the most important chapters that I would ask you to pay attention to. Everything else is operational. This is something more than operational. This is something that makes everything else happen. And in fact, if you pay attention to this, you will probably prepare yourself far better to have not only a successful but a happy career ahead of you. So let's start with management. If you look at the progress that we human beings have made, we had the agricultural age, then the industrial age, and then currently the information age. Almost from the information age, we are moving into the innovation age, if you like. Now, as we moved along from agriculture to industry to information, there's another thing that's happening. The source of power itself, the center of power itself, has been getting transformed. In the agricultural era, muscle was what was more powerful. The more power you had, the more muscle you had, the more you could achieve. If you had more pair of hands, you could till more soil. And therefore, at that time, muscle was most important. And then at some point in time, human beings invented money. Along that time, in the industrial age also got invented. True, money was invented a little before the industrial age, but I think money hastened the birth of the industrial age as well. And once the industrial age was born and money was born, money became the most powerful thing. So if you had the money, you could buy the muscle. So you didn't really require the money, you didn't require the muscle, you could simply acquire the muscle by paying for it. So as we moved from agriculture to information, we moved from muscle to power, moved from muscle to money. And then when the information age came, we moved over again from money to mind. So muscle to money to mind is how the center of power has shifted as we have moved along from the agriculture to the information age today. And right now that's where we are, we really know everything. Who is the most powerful? Entrepreneurship and knowledge. And where is entrepreneurship and knowledge? Where does it fall? Is it muscle? Is it money? No, it's mind. And therefore mind is in fact the most important thing. So it's all about people. Because mind means the human mind. And therefore it's more about people than anything else. Now look at this. As this moves along, we have been able to create larger and more complex organizations. We have multinationals, we have corporations that spread. If you look at FedEx, I think FedEx operates in 202 or 203 countries. Most large multinationals, you take the Fortune 100, probably all of them operate in so many countries, 180 to 200 countries. So this gives birth to completely new skills that are required, new competencies that are required, to operate organizations like this, to manage organizations. That's where management comes in. Management, therefore, is about getting things done. And remember, management is not about doing things yourself. Management is about getting things done. As you move from frontline operator to a supervisor to a manager, you're really getting other people to do a lot of things. So it's called getting things done. So today, that's where we are. Let's understand what management is. It's getting things done with the help of other people, with the other help of technology, with the help of all other kind of resources. So you as younger managers, you're much younger today. You are the managers of tomorrow. So let's take a look at the scenario. What is the scenario for managers of today? Well, today, younger managers, more and more managers, people are becoming managers at a much younger age. So you have, my 42-year-old son manages $3 billion, I think, an enterprise. So my boys manage huge businesses. During my time, when I was 40 years old, you had to be at least 60 years old or nearing 60 to be able to manage the, to get that high on the food chain. So today you have much younger managers. So there are more women. There are many, many more women in management today than there were, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. 21st century, that's the beauty. Greater diversity. You got people from all over the world. In the United States, it's even more applicable. In California, it's even more applicable. So remember that. Greater diversity. Also, it's a more educated workforce. Today, look, you're all in school. You are studying hard. Everyone is getting educated today. That's on one hand. On the other hand, information is available to everyone. The internet has just made the earth flat. Everyone has information. What information you have, I can also get. It's not only about knowing, something, it's about knowing where to get something. So it's about learning to jump on the net and figure out information and then draw conclusions or use that information intelligently. So it's about the information being available to all, rich or poor. You don't have to be highly educated even to get information. Everybody can reach can access information today. Of course, better education helps you determine what information is valid and what information is invalid, and that is true. A greater reliance upon team members. And as I told you, today we have larger and larger organizations. So you have larger teams because no individual can, deliver what a team of people can deliver. We all know that. So being able to manage, team members, having to depend upon team members. What does that imply? That implies that our communication skills have to be very, very good. As a manager, 80% of the time you're communicating something or the other to someone or the other, either to your superiors or to your peers or to your customers or to people who report to you or to someone in the community or to the government. You name it, you're communicating something to someone. Then again, as we all know, the rate of change is so great today. The rate of change itself is accelerating. So every day we find new inventions, new things happening in a blink of an eye. So many things happen today. Therefore, there's a lot of uncertainty. Also, what information you had 2 years ago is no longer valid. It's obsolete. So constant churn of information because of the speed of change. Because of this, you run into more and more complex problems. It's no longer really a situation where everything is known. There are so many unknowns because of the change. And let me, give you an example of that. When I was in school, in a math class, the teacher would ask the question, what is the area of a rectangle 8 feet long and 4 feet wide? And the ones that knew would pick, put their hands up and say 32 square feet. That's 8 times 4, length times breadth. The teacher would say, excellent, and you'd get an A grade. Well, problems today are not like that. You don't have problems like what is the area of a rectangle 8 feet long and 4 feet wide. Today you have problems like what is the area of a rectangle 8 feet long. That's it. That's all you know. So there's so much of uncertainty. And this leads to a situation where you have to be able to extrapolate. You have to be able to imagine. That's why imagination becomes more important today. You have to be able to conceive. Your conceptual skills become very important. You need to be able to conceive, if I do not know the width, what might be the width, and try to determine the width based upon looking at certain other parameters. So this is the age in which we live, and today's managers have to live in a world of uncertainty, in the world where they have to answer questions like what is the area of a rectangle that is 8 feet long. Also, because of the frequency of changes and rapidity of changes, you need to be more agile. Today's managers have to be very, very agile. What does that mean? That means since you don't have the answer to the questions, you haven't seen this problem before, you haven't faced it before, you have to try a number of things quickly. So you need speed. So you need to be agile, think quickly, try a number of things, keep what works and disengage with what doesn't work. Don't get emotional. So this is something that the younger managers of today are facing. It's a very, very different world out there. And today's world of managers is very different from the world of managers. My world of managers, when I became a manager, was far more predictable than today's world. Because there is such unpredictability, you require the skills of imagination. You're required to be able to say, is 2 and 2 22 or is 2 and 2 4? That's really, the requirement of today's managers. That is about, the changes occurring today in the management function. What is management? Well, we said management is about getting things done. And how do you get things done? You get things done through four functions. The four functions are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. I'm not going to go into detail in that. The book, describes that quite well. Let me just give you key pointers for these four functions: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Planning is when you have to be able to see a little ahead of you and say, okay, what am I going to do next? And no matter how uncertain the future is, you still have to plan. For example, I do not know how long I'm going to live. None of us knows how long he or she is going to live. But you got to plan. How many years should the money that I am saving? How long should it last, roughly? And hope that your plan is reasonably accurate. So planning is vital. Some people say, oh, everything is changing all the time. Think on your feet. Yeah, that's fine. You can think better on your feet if you thought while you were sitting, before you stand up, before you came on your feet. So here is my advice to you, my friends. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I'll repeat that. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You're making sure that you will fail. Even a bad plan is better than no plan. So make sure that you devote some time to planning. Put aside, things. For example, I say, set aside 12 hours a week for this course. That's part of planning, making sure, that you put those 12 hours aside. If you don't plan that, you'll be just going from one crisis to another, and that's not management. That is, anarchy. That's mismanagement, if you ask me. So planning itself has got different lifetimes. Strategic planning is long term, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. In today's world, it's mainly 2 years, for 3 years, because there's so much of change. It's good to plan. Unless you're a city planner. Now, if you're planning in the planning department of LA City, you'll probably look to plan. A strategic plan would look at 30 years or 40 years. By and large, in a small business, your planning would be the next couple of years. And, even in a larger business, it might be about 5 years. It's hard to plan beyond that. So that's the strategic planning, which belongs to top management. Normally, the owners of the business are very senior managers of the business. They are the people who engage in the strategic planning. I call it 30,000 feet planning. Like from a helicopter, you can see the bigger picture and try to see the bigger picture, draw the bigger plan. So a strategic plan could be like, we must, we are currently operating in California as a business, and we should operate in 5 states, that is Colorado, Arizona, and Washington State by the year 2020. That becomes a strategic plan. Our 15% of our revenues must come from products less than 3 years old. That is to ensure that the organization is innovative, and you're not flogging your products to death, and there is constant flow of new products. 15% of revenues must come from products less than 3 years old. This is strategic planning. This is planning at the top. This is setting up goals at the very, very top. And then you have tactical planning. Tactical planning is short term, which is really, you say, okay, what are we going to do in the next quarter? What are we going to do in the next month, July? What are we going to do? You can see Elon Musk or saying, we should produce X number of vehicles by 30th of September, which was yesterday. That was more a tactical plan. Hey guys, let's get this out. So that's tactical plan. Tactical planning is normally, a month, 3 months, 6 months ahead, not more than that. Then you break that down into operational planning, and that's the third kind of planning. You have strategic planning, tactical planning, we have operational planning. Operational planning is the day-to-day scheduling. What are we going to do, in the first shift today, what are we going to do in the second shift tomorrow, today, and so on. That is operational plan. Who will do what, that kind of, nitty gritty, going down to crossing the T's and dotting the I's. That is operational planning. Operational planning is generally done by supervisors. Tactical planning is generally done by middle level managers. So strategic planning is done by top management, tactical planning is done by middle management, and operational planning is done by supervisory management. And you have a fourth type of planning called contingency planning, which is called what if planning. What if something doesn't happen? What if, this product does not, come up to the mark? What if customers reject this type of service? So what if is that's a contingency planning, which is, make sure that you have, for example, contingency planning for an individual could be make sure you have 12 months of expenses in cash, so that you don't put it in the stock market, you keep it in the money market, so that if something happens and everything falls apart, you lose your job, you got 12 months of expenses to it. That is basically a contingency plan. So there are four types of plans: strategic plans, tactical plans, operational plans, and contingency plans. So what is the other thing apart from planning that you do? Well, you also, have to take decisions. Decision making is all the time you're taking decisions. There are 5 steps of decision making that is there in the book. There are 6 steps. So, you can go through the book to determine that. They're pretty straightforward and simple. You have to take decisions. A manager who doesn't take decisions is abdicating his or her responsibility. Shame on him. And worse, his people, the people who he manages, they are the ones who will suffer more than anyone else. Decision making is another important role of management. Now, the management itself, you can call it 3 types of management: top management, middle management, and supervisory management, which fits in with top management does strategic planning, middle management does tactical planning, and supervisory management does operational planning. What skill sets do managers need? Well, there are 3 types of skills that we need. One is the technical skills. You must know, if you're a carpenter, you must know carpentry. If you're a welder, you must know welding. If you are a construction engineer, you must know basic construction, civil engineering. That is really the technical skill. The technical skill is you acquire that in technical school. If you're an electrician, you must know how electrical cables are laid, and how electricity flows. There's all technical skills. Then you need people skills. People skills, the ability to deal with people, resolve conflicts, inspire people, manage, hire, fire, identify, talent and things like that. That's people skills, And then you have conceptual skills. Remember we said in an information age, you need to be able to conceive, you need to be able to look at 30,000 feet to imagine the future. I think it's Stephen Covey, my dear friends, who said this very well. Everything is created twice. Once in our memory and once in reality. And that creation in memory is what conceptual skills is all about. If you look at Steve Jobs, if you look at Elon Musk, if you look at these great leaders of these companies who created these great organizations, if you look at the founders of Google, if you look at the founders of Uber, they had great conceptual skills. They were able to conceive of a need and say, how can this need be fulfilled? And really, that's how needs get fulfilled. So conceptual skills are the third type of skills. Now, when you are at the supervisory management or even at the operating management, you need mostly technical skills. You need a lot of technical skills, a small amount of people skills, and if you don't have conceptual skills, you can probably get by. But as you go up the ladder, as you become more and more senior and take more and more responsibilities, you have to develop more and more conceptual skills. Now, the people skills, in my opinion, are required. The same amount of people skills are required regardless of whether you are supervisory management, your middle management, or top management. You have to deal with people everywhere. So the people skills, in my opinion, remains to be the same, happens to be the same. If you have more of it as you go up, good for you. But you better have enough of it right along. The technical skills you require a lot when you're starting your career. But as you go up, remember, you can hire people with those technical skills, and you require more and more conceptual skills. The higher up you go, the more conceptual skills you require. So that is the other thing about managing and what skills you require to manage. Technical skills, people skills, and conceptual skills, and they are not the same. They do not have be the same ratio as you move along in your career, unless you're stuck at the same level. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the controlling and which is the organizing and controlling. I want to talk a little bit about that. Organizing is, my simplest example to you is think about your house. In a house, you have a kitchen, you have a dining room, you have a toilet, you have a bedroom, you have a living room. You have different areas identified for different tasks. That's organizing. Your house is organized that way. Similarly, you have to have an organization. You have to organize your company or your operation to be able to make it run smoothly. So you require someone to look after marketing, someone to look after finance, someone to look after sales, someone to look after actual manufacturing if you're in the manufacturing business, someone to look after customer complaints. This is what organizing is all about. So you have a finance function, you have a marketing function, then you have a general manager who manages all of this, a general management function. That's what organizing is. Imagine the home. Imagine the different parts of your house and now related to an organization. You need different functions to be performed in different places in your house. You need different groups of people to perform different functions in an organization. And that is what organizing is all about. Now, controlling is about, hey, you can draw a plan, you can have a plan, but at some point in time, you say, hey, is the plan being executed? Are we getting to where we are? If I say that I want to reach San Francisco by 4 o'clock in the evening, and I know, I have to plan, okay, it takes roughly 6.5 hours, so therefore I've got to leave around 9:30. If I have to reach at 4, so I have a half hour break or a couple of 15-minute breaks. Then at about 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I would say, where am I? And I must know where I ought to be in order to, at 12 o'clock, in order to be at San Francisco at 4 o'clock. So that is really what controlling is all about. Am I where I ought to be? If not, what corrective measures can I take? Should I speed up or should I slow down or, should I do something else? Should I catch a plane? Whatever it is. So remember, that is what very broadly controlling is all about. And of course, the whole aspect of finance also comes under controlling because you've got to control money in order to make sure that you are able to meet the obligations of the organization. So finance also becomes part of controlling. So planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, which leaves me the biggest and probably the most important topic, leading. Let's talk a little bit about leading now. Leading is about inspiring. And this is the difference between, management and leading. I say one of the ways to describe the difference is, managing is when things are at peace. When you're at peace, you manage. But when you're at war, you have to lead. Because the changes are so many that you have to inspire. You can never command someone to go and kill himself, stand in the way of difficulties and trouble and have to stop a bullet. You can only inspire people to go and stand in the way of a bullet. So leading is about inspiring. Leading is about setting an example. Leading is about developing those you are fortunate enough to lead. Leading is about helping them get better. Helping those you lead get better with each passing day. Leading is about making people want to do what you want them to do. And this is the important thing. Leading is about making people want to do what you want them to do. Because in today's mind driven world, you cannot compel people to think the way you want them to think. They can act in front of you as if they are, agreeing with you, but the moment your back is turned, they will do what they want and they will say, fire upon this guy. So it's about inspiring so that, I do what I want you to do. You want me to do even when you're not there. That is what inspiring is all about. Leading is about creating a vision. What will we do? What will we look like 10 years from now? Articulating that vision and communicating that vision in a way that everyone is very, very excited to hear. That's very, very important. And then helping others or taking the help of others to fulfill it. That's really what leaders do. They imagine a vision, they create a vision, they articulate the vision, and then, they work with others to fulfill that vision. It's about leaving behind a community far better than what you inherited. Think about this. Leading really, my dear friends, is about you get an organization, you get a division, you get a department, a supervisor to it. When you are leaving it, it is far better than what you had, what you acquired. That really is what leading is all about. Both leading and managing require one skill that's common to both. That's communication. Leaders and managers communicate 80% of the time. 80% of their job is communicating. And therefore, we need to be powerful communicators to be able to lead well, to be able to manage well. That really is the essence of this chapter. I hope you find that useful too.